We had many objectives when we went on this trip. I had the advantage of going before the first trip we went this year, so I was able to follow up on some of the things we did the last trip. One of those was to look at the installation we had of the urinals in the girls' bathhouse and also the water washing station. We put one in the girls' bathhouse, and the school followed up by putting one in the boys' bathhouse. They fixed up the urinal there and put in a wash station there. And it was great to see that they had done that work. There was some ownership for the school, and that's really a key thing that we need to work on, is the ownership, getting the school involved in the work that we're doing. One of the things that Lori Cerrusi was doing was following up, working with the school on both their education and management of the school system. That's something we really need to work with. My other goal was to work on the water supply options at the school. We had options to use the surface water or groundwater at the school. There were two streams near the school, the River Jong and the Soa Creek. EWB USA feels that using surface water with a gravity flow, going from finding a higher point, going down to the school, is the most sustainable way of working with water flow. And that's what I was looking for. If we couldn't find that, we were going to look to use groundwater. We did a lot of work prior to going to make sure that we were prepared to maximize the value of our time while we were there. I spent a lot of time calling the well drillers while we were there, before we went there, so that I could spend the time with them as we were going. The other thing we had to do was to look for, as I said, the higher point for the streams, the River Jong and the Soa Creek. What we did to do that was use GPS, and we had two of them, one at the school and one where we were going. They use barometric pressure, which can change while you're working. So we had to have one at the school to record the variation, natural variation, while we were out in the field looking for the higher ground. We went through the Soa Creek area and also through the River Jong, through the jungle. As we were doing that, we were prepared for snakes. And we had the high boots on and the jeans, and we're ready to fight them off. Sheck, who was with us to help guide us through, found this woman and her son who could take us to a higher place. We were looking for the higher ground in the jungle. And he said after talking to her that we can go through this path. Now this kid had his bathing suit on and his safety sandals on to take us through. He was not as concerned about snakes as we were. That was how we got through there. Going through both of those, the River Jong and the Soa Creek, we did not find a higher ground that had water. So we eliminated that option, but I think we did a very thorough study of that to find that out. So we were talking to the well drillers to find out the option for drilling a well. There's two levels of water: the shallow water, where the school has a well, but the well dries up during the dry season. So that's not a sustainable source of water. So we were looking at drilling into bedrock, and we talked to a university professor and had done a resistivity study prior to this trip, and it said that there's some areas in the school that are better than others. Talking to the well drillers, we found that two wells had already been drilled in the town, in Matru. One was drilled at the bank and one was drilled at the hospital. Both of those got the amount of flow that we're expecting to get in the school, that we need at the school. So I think we're in a very good position to get a good amount of flow from the well water. There is risk with any of the options we do. We dismissed the River Jong because there's too much high flow and low flow, and also there's contamination upstream that we would have to treat for. So we kind of eliminated that. The Soa Creek, we never found an area that was above the level. We may have to go back to them if we don't get enough water out of our well, but I think we found the option that we need. The highlight for me was seeing that what we're doing has an effect and can have a big effect. We worked with a lot of people there, and it was just so great to see that energy. Joe Abu, the Reverend Joe Abu, from here, but also from there, he went to school there, just put so much energy into everything he does. Now I have to say, he might have to take care of his car a little bit better the next time we go, but he understands that now. But working with Ahmed Fulla, Sheikh Sasay, and others there, those two were with us. Ahmed was a contractor who's worked with us on figuring out different projects we're working on. Sheikh really dedicated himself to this trip. He said, I have time here, I can change my schedule around. You people are here, I'm going to work with you while we're here. and he dedicated himself to the water projects. He said, I'm with you, and I'm going to do whatever you need to make this better, and I'm going to carry this out. There was so much potential there with the people working. There's a lot of others. Albert Massacoy, David Murphy have done all those things with us before on other projects. We just have to make that work, pull that energy out of them, and I think we can make this sustainable. There's a lot of next steps. When we got back, we have to make some reports to EWB USA, and that's on the results of the assessment of the water, the evaluation of alternatives, and then what we're going to do on our next trip. And we've submitted those reports. We're going to be talking to them and reviewing them. We have to review with the Technical Advisory Committee to come up with an agreement on this is the plan that we're going to do. Then we have to go back and say which driller are we going to use. We have to coordinate with the driller to find out who's going to be there when we're going to be there. I called one, or I actually wrote to one to say, will you be there at the last week of April? And it was like, well, call us a week before and we'll let you know. So there's some issues there. I would have the same trouble with a driller in the US, by the way, doing that. That's no different. So we have to work on those issues to get that all worked out, and then plan the trip, make sure we have the money to drill these wells. And then there's a lot of steps after that. We have to find out how much water do we get? Does the water that we pump out of this well need to be treated? Is there bacteria contamination? We took a sample of the bank, and that did have bacteria contamination. So we may have to do some treatment with chlorine or some other methods to treat the well to make it disinfected. We will also be looking at the next process. Where do we store the water? Storage tank, and then the distribution system. All the piping in the school is no longer serviceable, so we will have to do that, work on a project to do that. Also, we're putting in a hand pump at this time is what our plans are now. We're going to have to look at powering the pump, probably with both solar and an electric generator in the future to power the pump. There's a lot to do with engineering. Some of the key thing we have to do, though, is not engineering. Engineering is of course our name, but it's a misnomer, because really we have to talk to the people of the school, get the people to say, we are the owners of this school, of this equipment. That's how we're going to make these projects that we do sustainable.